All right, sports stat students, I made this tutorial video on how to make the Excel spreadsheet from this past week that needs to get completed. So go step by step with this video that I'm making right here, and you'll be able to get the assignment done pretty easily. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first thing that you need to do is go to your OneDrive. I'm on my email. You just click OneDrive here, and then find the sports stats folder that you had to make. So for me, that's in here. So sports stats. And then what you want to do is you want to, at the top left here, click new, and you want Excel workbook. And it's going to make a new page for you. Okay. And our goal here is to um, make a spreadsheet that is going to mimic our baseball collection process from last semester. So this is the activity that we've been doing. We did a whole season of playing baseball, and this is where you're collecting data on this spreadsheet right here, or this little pencil. You'd use pencil and this paper to collect your data, and then at the end you would have to calculate the summary statistics down here. So the whole point of this assignment is to show how we can actually adjust this to make it easier. Okay, so um, what we're going to do to start is on your spreadsheet here. Let's go ahead and rename it. At the top left, you see where it says book. It might say book one for you. We're going to go ahead and click that. And I'd like you to rename this. You can just type over this, put your name. So for instance, mine will be R Woods. You're going to put baseball score sheets. Okay. And then that would be about it. That's the name of the file. You can just hit enter. So I'll do that. Okay, so we've got that saved. And so the whole point of this is that we are going to be playing basketball, or we have been playing basketball in class. We did this the past couple days, Thursday and Friday, and we had people collect data. Okay, and here's that sheet. So you will be using this video to sort of inspire you on the things that can be done to automate this process of collecting and also calculating statistics as you're playing a sport. In our case, this simulation, this game. Okay, so one of the first things, and we talked about this in class with your classmates, is well, we need to be tracking things by inning. And the sky's the limit as far as how this can be organized, but we're going to go ahead and I need you to make sure that you, of course, have your sheet up. And we're going to go ahead and start by typing inning up here on the top left. I'm going to try to make sure I'm zoomed in. I'm looking at my image here. I think that's good enough. And so we would be tracking by innings, right? So we have inning one, inning two, inning three, four, five, six, and seven. Typically, that's as far as we went. However, some matches had extra innings. So we're going to put 8 extra, 9 extra. So make sure that you've got your sheet formatted that way to get things started. If you need to pause the video, pause, rewind, whatever you got to do. I'm just going to keep going. Okay. So what happens next is this. So per inning out to the right side, if we look back here, we would be writing just ours. We never really are writing our opponent's stats. Some of you may have done that just to help keep track, but we never really wrote, or we would always write out to the right side here. So in that same spirit, we want to be writing our values in these columns here. So like I could put BB for a walk. Or I could put capital O out, right? 1B, 2B. And I wouldn't want to put them in the same column, by the way. Like this would not work here. So every time I'm doing this, I hit tab and it moves over. If I hit enter, it goes down. Tab moves you to the right. Okay. So all of these are in. Okay. So there's that. All right. So that's, and then I could have 3 outs here. So that would be like if everything happened exactly once on our sheet here. This is everything happening once, and then the inning ends because it's 3 outs, if that makes sense. So this would be ideally like as your partner's rolling, you're typing this in, and it's keeping track of it, and that's great. Okay, so that's kind of like phase one of this is how can I actually mimic this process here? Well, I can just type them in instead of writing them, and of course I have a lot of space, really infinite space here to just keep going, and it's nice and easy to track. and you can see what's happened. Okay. Now, something that we really want to do in the power of these spreadsheets is we really want to be able to calculate all of this as we're playing, and that's going to be the goal here. Is we want to be tracking how many times different things are happening. So what we're going to do is we actually want to have a place on this spreadsheet where we can count the number of, well, really everything: at bats, walks, outs, singles, doubles, triples, home runs, all of it. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to highlight all of this. So check this out. You'll notice how my icon is like a big cross. We're going to click and drag to highlight all of this that we've done. And then all we have to do is click where we get this hand and we can shift it over. And I'd love for you to shift this all the way to column, I think it's going to be H. Okay, so it shifts over to H, and that leaves us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces. Because what we're going to do on this left side now is we're going to make trackers. So we have at bats, outs, walks, singles, doubles, triples, and home runs. And what we're going to do down below here is inside of these cells, it's going to be counting all the functions, all the things that happen over on this side. So this is a really cool feature of Excel that you can do. Okay. This isn't something that I expect you to memorize, but I just need everybody to understand through this assignment that anything that you can imagine doing in Excel can probably be done if you Google it. This is something I had to Google myself. So we're going to use a function. So get ready to type with me. We're going to start with the outs. We want a function that takes this row over here and counts the number of outs that exist within that row or that selected range. Okay. And so this is what we're going to do. We're going to click in here, and if I want to put a function into Excel, here's what you have to do. You always hit the equals sign. So look at how I've put an equals in there. And hold on, before I go on, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit just so we can really see this. So I'm gonna put equals, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna say count. And not only are we going to put count, because that is a function on its own, but we want to put a special requirement on it because we only want to count the outs that happen. So we're going to put count if. Okay, that's the function we want. And we're going to put an open parentheses. Okay, so that's where you need to be at right now. Count if and put a parentheses. So count if, it's going to count a particular range. You'll see the directions here. It counts the number of cells within a range that meet the given condition. So we're going to first put in the range of values. So here's how we do that. We're going to start here where I've typed walk. Hopefully you have the same stuff in here. We click, and then we're going to start dragging. And look, you'll notice how on this left side over there, it's as I move this, that letter is changing. That for J2, K2, now L2. We're going to keep going, and we're actually going to go a pretty good distance. Like here's where we could stop, but we're going to keep going a little bit of a way. So we're going to drag this. I think I'm going to go just to like AT here. All right, so we got that. We release, and now we can scroll back. We've covered a lot of room there. And so there's that. Okay, so we've got our range. And now the next thing you have to do is you have to put the given condition, and this is what we're going to put. We want it to count the letter O, right, for out. So we're going to put quotation mark. Then we're going to put this little star, which is shift 8. So we have quotation marks, the star. We're going to put the letter O, star, quotation marks. And then we're going to close the parenthesis and hit enter. And look at that. It has counted 3 of these. Watch what happens if I get rid of this one. Oh, it goes down to 2. So now I can just type in here, anywhere in here. If I type, let's add another one way out here to the right. There we go. Look, now it's a 4. So it's a really cool feature of Excel to be able to have it count special values. And so now we just need to repeat that process for the walks, for the singles, for the doubles, and the triples. And let me show you a fast way to do that. And then I'm going to skip ahead in the video just showing all of them done. But watch this. Instead of just retyping all of this, I hit equals, count, if. Like I could redo that, that's fine. And re-highlight all this, that's okay. But why don't we just use copy and paste? So to get back into the function that we just typed, you double click and it shows exactly what's in there. we're going to highlight all the way to the C. We don't want to put the equal sign. We're going to hit the C, and we're going to hit copy, which is Control C on your keyboard, Control C. And then I'm going to hit escape. Now I've got it copied. Let's hit escape. Let's go into this cell here. We're going to hit equals. We're going to paste Control V. All right, so this is the function we want, except that I need it to be walks. So I put BB there, okay? So I hit enter. And now we notice that it's counting this one walk. If I get rid of it, look, it's at 0, so now it's BB. There it is. So now it's counting the walks. We're going to repeat this for all of these. So instead of count for this 1B, I'm going to put, instead of the O, I'm going to put the 1B. And so now that's in there, right? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get all these filled out. And I want you to do the same thing. You're repeating that process for each one of these. All right, so I've already finished mine. If I click in here, you can see that I've changed all these 3B, 2B, 1B. If I change anything, like if I add another home run, that's going to go up now. And so you should have done the exact same thing. Okay, if you have issues with that, just pause the video, try to figure that out. If you need to rewind just to see what happened, do that. Now you'll notice that I have not counted the at-bats because the at-bats in our playbook here, it's how many times you rolled the dice. So really any outcome that happens, that's what we're going to be getting, okay? All these. So really it's all of these added together. So we're going to introduce one more cool function of Excel to help us with this. We know that for the at-bats, we need to add all of these 6 cells together to get that. And so what we're going to do is this. Let's go ahead and get ready to type inside of this cell. You're going to hit equals sum, because that means we want to add them all, right? And then you put an open parentheses. That's super important. Okay, so sum parentheses, and then you're just going to highlight all of these options here. You're not going to the inning, you're just going to the home run here, okay? So it's those 6 cells. Do not include the inning. Hit enter, and you know you should have 8, just like me, assuming that this is exactly what's in your inning tracker so far, okay? All right, cool. Now, we just have to repeat that for all of these innings, but there's a super cool feature of Excel that you're really going to enjoy, okay? That makes this pretty much automatic and you don't have to do anything. So watch this. I'd like everybody to start clicking the dead center and highlight all of those. And inside of these have all kinds of functions, right? We have that function, this function, there's all these functions in here, and they're all set to interact with the highlighted sections, okay? So when we highlight these, watch what happens. We're gonna, down at the bottom right, you see this bold little bottom right corner, and it turns your cursor into this black crosshair. If you click and drag straight down, release, it copies every single function. Look at that. It took this one and it shifted it down. All of these are just shifted down. This one is in the 3rd row, 4th inning, 5th inning, 6th inning, and it does the same thing. So go ahead and in like inning 3, go ahead and put a walk and put a home run and put an out. By the way, you don't have to capitalize these anymore. Look at that. It's counting that section. Look at that. It's doing it for us. Here, I'm going to put a 1B, 2B, and an out, and it's tracking that. Look at that. It's really great. Okay, for that inning, it's keeping track of all those in the separate innings. So that is a way that you can do things with some speed in Excel, and it saves us some time. Okay, so hopefully so far that's been really cool for you to experience. It really is the most powerful part of Excel is being able to track these things. Okay, so that's interesting because we get an inning by inning breakdown of what has happened, right? But at the end of the game, we still have yet to get these things. We want the baseball statistics game summary. So what I'd like to do, and I'd like you to do, is down here, let's just go below because we want to put that game summary somewhere on here. I'm going to go right here to cell 13, column B, row 13, column B. I'm going to paste that in. Baseball statistics game summary. What you can do is you can just double click. So if you're going to type this in, double click, and you can just type what I have there. Okay, if you need to pause the video, do that. But we're going to go ahead and move on with this. Okay, because not only do we want the per inning stats. That's what we have in here is all the per inning. We want the entire combined game summary, right? That's what we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight this top row. And we're basically going to take that and copy it below where I wrote baseball statistics game summary. So you're going to hit Control C to copy that, and then go down here and hit Control V. And so we've just duplicated that. And down here, we're putting the game summary. So how can I get the total at bats? Well, I just need to add all of these together, right? That's going to be the total at bats if I add all those. So let's do the same function we did to get this, right? We did sum and we did the horizontal row. Here, we're going to do sum, and then we're going to click starting here and go up. We want to highlight those cells together and we hit enter. Okay, so that's 16 at bats from all of this data here. And by the way, look, oh wait, you can't see that behind my image. If I highlight all this, we get a count right there of 16. So that works out pretty good. Okay. All right, cool. Now I want the total out. So I could just do sum again, or I can use that cool thing that I did where I drug this. I can do that here too. So we take this and we drag it. Okay, there we go. All right, cool. So that is the total summary of counts for this game. So on here, I have the number at bats total. That's what you'd be doing is you'd be going through this sheet, adding them all together. The number of singles, doubles, triples, all of that is now taken care of here. It's automatically done for you. Saves a lot of time. Let's add another part of this game summary. We notice that we have to get the hits, we have to get the batting average, and we have to get the on base percentage. So let's go ahead and add those on here. So we want hits, batting average. I'm going to put BA for that, and then I'm going to do on base percentage. And then we just need to look at our formulas, and we're going to learn a couple more cool things with Excel. First off, we know the hits. That's the singles plus doubles plus triples plus home run. So that's really all of these here. So we have our function already for that. We can do equals sum, and we know that we want singles, doubles, triples, home run. Okay, so we've had 7 hits for this game. Okay, 7 hits. Obviously, walks are not included in that. Okay, just singles, doubles, triples, and home runs. Good. Now we want batting average. So batting average is normally the part where a lot of students will get out their calculators because you have to do hits divided by at bats, and you'd use a calculator to do that. Excel can do this automatically for us to where we don't have to sit here and calculate this. We are going to tell Excel to take the hits, which is in this cell, divided by the at bats. We're not going to be doing 7 divided by 16 because these numbers could change as the game goes on. So what we're going to do is, check this out, you're going to hit equals. Then what you're going to do is you're going to physically click the hits cell there. Look how it fills that in. H15 is where mine's at, okay? And then we're going to hit the forward slash. That's division, right? That's what that means. We're going to take the H15, 7, whatever's in there, divided by the at-bats, which is 15, or A15. There we go. We got it. Hit enter and check it out. There's the batting average, 0.4375. So we've done it. And now, as I add more things in here, let's put another out in here, and then one more. Look at that batting average. It's changing as we add things. So here I can put a 2B in there. It goes up. Notice how BB does not make it go up. It actually makes it go down. A walk does not contribute to batting average. Outs are obviously bad. Let's put a 1B in here, 2B, home run. So that's increasing it, and it's just doing it. It's automatically doing it, and you'll see how the at-bats go up. All of these values go up. The hits are going up as I'm adding all these in there. So it's really cool how it's doing that for us without us needing to calculate it ourselves. So we'll have at the end of the game all of this outputs in here. Next, we need on-base percentage. Let's go ahead and do that. So on-base percentage is hits plus walks divided by at-bats. So we want to make sure we respect the order of operations here. Okay, we want to respect the order of operations, and we want to use these parentheses. So we're going to go in here the same way that we did this formula. We're going to do this one here with a little bit of a difference. Hit equals, and let's make a parentheses. Open the parentheses, and we want to add the hits, which is H15, right? We're going to add the walks, which is C15. We're going to close that parenthesis. So those need to be added together. Then we take that value and we divide by the at-bats. And then you hit enter. And this number will almost always be larger than batting average. It just has to be because of the way it's defined. Okay. The walks are not in this one. They are in this one. So there we go. We actually already have all of this taken care of. So essentially, this sheet at this point has been converted. We have successfully completed this sheet. Actually, there's one thing specifically we're missing. We don't have a tracker for the runs. So we are going to add that. What I'd like you to do is go down to row, let's go to 19, and we're going to track the runs by inning. There's not a way to have this calculate the runs because we'd have to come up with something very complicated to track that. It doesn't have a way of knowing, like, hey, we got a walk here, then an out, then a single, then a double. And on that one, we would have scored. Yeah, we would have scored by this point. We'd have got one run, and then this would have scored two more runs. So there's no way to have the computer do that. We're just going to have to track it ourselves. So we're going to do that. Down here on row 18, we're going to put inning, and then we're going to put runs. So we have all of our innings. We've got 8 extra just in case. We go into extra innings, 9 extra. Okay, so we've got that. And we're just going to leave this blank. There's nothing that goes in there. If I had finished this inning, we would have scored several runs here. This would have been, let's see, that would be 1 run, 3. That's like 4 runs, and I would have typed that in. But for now, that's just a place for it to go, just like we would have inside of this this activity sheet here, this score sheet. Okay. There is one other thing that I want to do, and then this will be done. Let's see that we're 22 minutes in here. What we're going to do is the last presentation that you and your group had to do, you had to actually get me percentages. Like, what is the out percentage here? Well, how would I calculate this out percentage? And if I wanted to put it in this cell that I've highlighted, let's hit equals there. How do I do it? Well, I'm going to take the outs, and we're going to divide that by the at-bats. And we're going to hit enter. There's your out probability. It's 46%. So this is a pretty interesting thing to calculate because you are not going to have a way to know what your team's true out percentage is when we play with individual players in the second semester. So this is your best indicator of your team's true probability for scoring. Okay. So now that we have that, remember, we don't have to just keep typing these in. We can click and drag. But before you do that, I want you to look at what's going to happen. There's going to be a mistake that occurs when I do this. Watch. If I click and drag this, I'm going to release. You just watch. Don't do this yet. Look at this. I get a 3 for home runs, and that can't be a probability. 3.667. That can't be a probability. So watch what's happening here. This was our function. We did the 12 divided by 26. That seems good. Look at this one. Oh, it's 3 divided by 12. That can't be right. It should be 3 divided by 26. And what's happening is, as I drug this formula, if I do this, it's shifting across with it that formula. It's moving the red and blue colored cells together. So here's how we fix that. So let's do this. Okay, so here's how we fix this. What we're going to do is we're going to double click back into this cell. Okay, and what needs to happen, I think we already understand, we just need to make sure that this 26 remains constant. It stays in our formula cell A15, right? So there's a specific way you can do this to lock the cell. Okay, you can try this first method or you can do the second method. So we'll start with this. All you need to do is press F4 at the top of your keyboard. Okay. Now, if you're using a school laptop, you may have to press like Fin and then click it. There might be a special way to do it. So I'm going to push it. Look, it adds, and you just hit got it up here. Okay. Okay. Well, maybe not. But it adds these little dollar signs. Now, if you're having trouble getting that, just type them in. You hit Shift 4 to get the dollar signs, and this is exactly where they need to go. Okay, and what that does is it locks the cell. And so what we're going to do is now we're going to click and drag. And you can see, look, that cell stays locked there. Okay. So that formula is up to date. As we keep hitting, watch, all of this is going to update. All the numbers change. Watch, I'm going to change these numbers. There we go. 1B goes up, 2B goes up, home run, right? And that out percentage, all of this is changing as we enter numbers in. So it's a really great, that's exactly why we're doing this, is to see how powerful Excel can be at collecting this data and giving us immediate outputs, okay? All right, we are at the ending stage of this. There's only maybe, there's really only one other thing I want to do, which is I want to add a couple details to this for quality of life purposes. When we're in our season, I want to make sure that I'm able to pick up or take this sheet and I'm able to understand exactly what week this game was that's showing here, okay? So what I'm going to have you do is at the top left, you see this little 1 at the top left here. That's the row number. If you're using one of the school laptops, if you're using a mouse, you're going to right click, but if you're using the school laptops, it's 2 fingers on the right side of the pad, 2 fingers on number 1 here, and you're going to click insert rows. So I do that. Look, it adds a fresh blank row at the top. It doesn't disturb any of my functions down here. It just gives me some more space to add more details that I want. I could also do that to the column here if I wanted to. However, I don't want to. Okay. Let's do that one more time. I want to add one more row at the top. So go ahead and do that. Right click, insert rows. Okay. And I want to call this week 1. Week 1, right? That way, when I open this up, I know exactly what game this was. This was the first week. Whoever my opponent was, we can also add that opponent, and we can, whenever the match comes, we can type their name, their team name in here, just so you remember who you were playing. All of that's pretty important, okay? The very last thing we're going to do, well, I guess there's 2 more things. The second to last thing, you're going to, at the bottom, you see where it says sheet 1 down here. We want to rename that because we want this to kind of be like our book of stapled papers that we use to track the data in. I remember I had printed off a bunch of these and stapled them so that you could write on them, write out all the data. So we need to make sure that we're able to shuffle through our pages in an organized way. So sheet 1 down here, hover over that. Then you're going to use those 2 fingers to right click. So we do that. Look at that. And it says rename. That's what we want. And we're going to call this sheet week 1. All right. And so what if I want to make week 2, right? Or week 3, and I want to keep filling this in because last season we played 12 weeks of baseball. So here's what you would do. We're going to right click on this tab and you're going to click duplicate. Okay. Click duplicate. And you'll notice it makes a second tab and it puts a little 2 in there. Let's click and reorganize that. See how I can click and drag it? Let's move it to the right, and then let's go ahead and rename it. Let's rename it to week 2. Now you'll notice if you flip between these, they are, well, besides being zoomed in, I'm going to go to 100% here and 100% here. They are literally the same thing. Nothing actually changes as I switch between these. So what can you do to set up for your week 2? You do need to change this up here to a 2. Well, you can highlight all of this and just hit delete. And what that does is it sets all of this to 0 over here. And you'll notice that your little functions can't divide by 0. That's the problem here. They can't divide by 0. So none of this is possible yet. But as I start adding things when I play, it'll start calculating down here. Okay. So let's go ahead and you can have that cleared. And with that, this is done. If you go on to Teams, you'll be able to submit this. This is all I needed you to have done. You just go into the, let's go to student view. You're going to attach the link to your OneDrive Excel spreadsheet. So when you go to submit this, at the top right, you have the share button. Click copy link. Okay, you can copy. All right, and then you're just going to upload that into your into the Teams Dropbox. Okay, that is what you need to do. Hopefully that was pretty easy to follow. Of course, just rewind parts that you need help with, and I'm going to go ahead and stop this video. If you have follow-up questions, please ask me in class.